Thanks Mr. Somsekhar for his excellent presentation. Now we shall start the presentation of Sri Dr. H. Umesh Hebbar. He will deliver lecture on innovative process and machinery of our food processing. It will continue up to 1 p.m. Yes, it will continue up to 1 p.m. Thereafter we will take lunch break, and we shall start at reassemble at 1:45 p.m.
Thank you. Namaskar. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to present a talk on food processing. The title of my talk is Innovative Processes and Machinery for Food Processing, and this will cover a few brief introduction about the activities of my organization, that is CFTRI, and some of the processes, products and machineries developed by CFTRI in the recent past. And one thing I would like to mention here is I'm not going to cover anything on grain processing, as my colleague Mr. Srinivas is going to talk about innovative processes in grain processing in the afternoon session. And another thing is I have included a few processes or technologies which may not exactly fit into the category of innovation, but can be adopted or employed at rural scale. So that also I have included. And another part is some of the technologies which are not meant for rural scale operation, but can be implemented at a higher level, that is at this medium or the small scale industries level, but as they are considered as innovative technologies in the current scenario. So it's a mixture of both rural technologies and the innovative technologies for the small and medium scale sector. So coming to the activities of CFTRI. Actually, CFTRI was established in the year 1950. This was dedicated to the nation by the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, on October 21st, 1950. This is one of the constituent laboratories of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, coming under Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Honorable Prime Minister is the President, and the Minister of Science and Technology is the Vice President of the Council. Apart from CFTRI, the CSIR has 36 other laboratories who are doing R&D work in different areas of science and technology and located in different parts of India. The main mandate for CFTRI is to develop cost-effective, bio-friendly food processing technologies with the concern on food safety, health and nutrition and environment. With this motive, the CFTRI was started. At present, we have 17 R&D departments and 14 supporting departments. Apart from that, we have 3 regional centers or the resource centers. One is located in Lucknow, one is in Hyderabad, and another one is in Mumbai, which caters to the requirements of the local needs. We have around 500 scientific and technical and non-technical supporting staff, and with a strong group of nearly 150 research fellows doing basic research in the area of food science and technology. These are the major areas of CFTRI or the activities of CFTRI. We are mainly into post-harvest handling of agricultural produces. But in some cases we are also having intervention in the pre-harvest stage also, in order to extend the shelf life of agricultural produces. And we have the main activity is development of technologies for extension of shelf life, development of value-added products from various food and agricultural produces, and equipment development, mainly into the traditional equipment development and also the equipment for higher energy efficiency and also in the non-conventional energy sources. Our basic research in various areas of food science and technology. I have named a few here: biochemistry, nutrition, biotechnology, nanotechnology related to food science. Apart from the basic research and the applied research, we are also into the consultancy assignments, wherein we give the support to the industry in terms of preparing the detailed project report, identification of suitable equipment for their processes, and sourcing them also. And we take up industry-sponsored projects. Whenever an industry approaches CFTRI with a specific problem, we will look into that and then give a know-how or solution to their problem. This we take up like a short-term project varying from 6 months to 1 year. And we also take up these turnkey projects, wherein right from the detailed project report stage to setting up of the plant, then giving training to the personnel, and then handing over the plant to the entrepreneur. So recently, in the last couple of years, we have taken up such activities. One is in Imphal, that is 30 kilometers from Imphal. The place is called as Litan, wherein we have set up a plant of 1 ton per hour of juice production. Mainly the pineapple juice and the orange juice is produced there. And a couple of them in states of Karnataka also. One we have set up in Lucknow. And also we have several HRD activities. MSc, we have a MSc Food Technology course which is affiliated to Mysore University but conducted in CFTRI. And this is a 2 years course. And we have 1 year milling technology course, which is a certificate course, mainly looking into the milling aspects of wheat. And we have several entrepreneur development programs which we conduct at rural areas with the support or the collaboration with self-help groups and NGOs. And we have short-term courses for entrepreneurs which is varying from 1 to 2 weeks. This we will be conducting at CFTRI. And this is on specific area. So it could be on fruit and vegetable processing, or it could be on plantation product, or it could be on marine products. And we have PhD programs. Several research fellows are working in this. We are both under Mysore University and the Academy of CSIR. Large number of project work, project students are working, undergraduate and postgraduate students are working in CFTRI. So it's an exposure for them to the latest state of art technologies in food processing, and also to encourage them to take up their career in food science and technology. See, these are some of the facilities that we have at CFTRI. We have a well-equipped pilot plant housing nearly 180 small and medium scale equipment, which we are mainly using for our R&D work as well as for scaling up of our processes that we have developed at lab scale. And also this facility is thrown open to the industry. If they want to come and use our equipment for a short duration also, they can come and do that, of course on paid basis. Apart from that, we have very good maize mill and automated wheat mill. Maybe my colleague will throw more light on this. And then we have a food safety laboratory mainly for analyzing the external samples which we receive at CFTRI, and also a centralized instrumentation facility where we have the latest state-of-the-art instruments for the analysis of food material. So while selecting the technologies or the processes, so we have looked into the commodities that are grown in this area, northeast or the northern part of India. So I think these are the major crops agricultural produced in this area: fruits and vegetables, cereals, spices, milk and poultry products, and sugarcane. So as we all know, most of the industries are small or medium scale industries, and there is a great scope for value addition to the producers that are produced in this region. As mentioned in the morning, almost like 30 to 40% of the agricultural produces that are produced in the country are lost during post-harvest handling. So there is a great scope for utilizing these things and doing value addition to this. Coming to some of the novel food processing techniques. As I mentioned earlier, the major objective of CFTRI is to develop post-harvest handling, post-harvest technologies for extension of shelf life. So, whenever there is an opportunity to export the commodities, there are only two ways of doing. One is to send it by air cargo or by ship. The problem with the air cargo is getting the space is one problem. Second thing is it is very expensive. Compared to shipment, it is almost like 3 times expensive. So we need to look for a protocol which can extend the shelf life of the food commodity so that it can be sent by ship. So in this direction, have given 2 technologies of CFTRI. One is for export of mango of a particular variety, that is Alfonso, and then another one is the banana, this Cavendish by shipment. So in this protocol, we have both pre-harvest and the post-harvest techniques. The pre-harvest technique is from orchard management to the handling the optimum stage of maturity, identifying the optimum stage of maturity, and then in the post-harvest handling, it is from desapping. It is in case of mango, it is desapping, handling, packing operations, identifying suitable packaging material for that purpose, and then identifying the suitable conditions of its storage during transit. So with these protocols, we were able to extend the shelf life of mango by nearly 35 days and for banana by 42 days. This the extended period is sufficient to transport the material to the countries where it is in demand. So same the technologies can be extended for other commodities also wherever there is a potential. Another technology which I feel can be employed at rural level is minimal processing of vegetables. So it is a very simple and cost effective technique wherein the vegetables are given some pre-treatment like washing, dipping in a particular solution, and then peeling, cutting, trimming, slicing, shredding and dicing, and then it goes into a packaging, and then it is packaged in a suitable packaging material. So by this simple technique, we can extend the shelf life by 3 to 5 fold for the given commodity. So nowadays we are seeing in the supermarket such products available because there is a great demand for such product because it is in the ready to cook form. So the advantage is almost like the value addition is almost like 60%. And another advantage is it can generate employment at the rural level also. So these are whatever I have listed on the right hand side are the commodities for which CFTRI has already developed protocols for minimal processing. Another area that is picking up fast is this controlled or modified atmosphere storage. Yeah. We have non-technical write-up for every technology. We will send you. Now, if there is a request, we will. Right now, I don't have the write-up, but we can share it. We can share it. This is another area that is picking up very fast. Earlier, we were only going for the cold storage. So this is like a controlled atmosphere or the modified atmosphere storage, wherein we are not only changing the relative humidity and the temperature, we are also changing the atmosphere in terms of concentration of oxygen in terms of concentration of carbon dioxide or the nitrogen content. By doing so, we can control the rate of ripening and also the rate of respiration, which is mainly responsible for spoilage of the material. So, by combining the minimal processing and this storage in the controlled atmosphere or the modified atmosphere, we can extend the shelf life by 7 to 8 fold. So this technology, because these chambers, that CA chambers or the modified atmosphere chambers are not that expensive, it can also be implemented at rural level. Another very important or the widely used technique for extending the shelf life of fruits and vegetable is dehydration. This is one of the oldest method of preserving food materials. So here what we do is we remove water from the material. Water is mainly responsible for the spoilage. Water activity, when water activity is high, the microbial activity will be more and the enzyme activity will also be high. Once you reduce the moisture content, automatically the microbial activity and the enzyme activity comes down, thereby we can increase the shelf life. The only drawback is we need energy for this. So dehydration is one of the most energy intensive processes in food industry. So always look out, conventionally it is done by using hot air. You generate hot air and then use the hot air to remove moisture. But the problem with the hot air heating is it greatly affects the quality of the material. It is a tedious process, it's a long process, and also it affects the quality of the material. So the lookout is for technologies which can quickly do this dehydration operation and also consume less energy. So one such technique which CFTR has developed is a combination of osmotic hot air dehydration, particularly for heat labile materials. The fruits are highly sensitive, so slight increase in temperature or longer processing time will greatly affect the quality. So in such cases we can go for a combination of osmotic hot air wherein 50% of the water that is present in the material, the food material, is removed by osmosis. We are dipping in the osmotic solution wherein the water comes out because of the osmotic pressure difference, and then going for hot air drying. So 50% of the energy required for drying is minimized here because we are going for the osmotic dehydration. So number of technologies have been developed. Some of them are listed there, and they have been already transferred to industry and they are successfully using these technologies. Another one, another technique which has recently come to limelight is use of electromagnetic radiation for drying. So this is a process wherein we are using electromagnetic radiation along with the hot air to have a synergistic effect and quickly remove water molecules from the material. So the advantage of this is in the conventional process the heating is always from outside to inside, and then because of which the drying process is much longer. If you heat the material throughout its volume, which is called as volumetric heating, then the removal of moisture will be much faster, heat and mass transfer will be much faster. So we can achieve that using these electromagnetic radiation. So we are using the electromagnetic radiations like infrared radiation, microwave radiation, and radio frequency waves for this purpose. CFTR has developed one near infrared based system for high temperature short time processing. We have a conveyor system and infrared heaters are provided on either side. Material moves on a wire mesh conveyor so that both sides of the material is exposed to infrared radiation. This design was mainly, equipment was mainly designed for cashew processing. In cashew nut processing, these are the steps involved. Raw nut is roasted and the outer shell is removed. Then the kernel, which is having the brown layer, which is called as testa, is subjected to drying, and then it is peeled back. But the drying step is very important here. If any variation in temperature is there, then it will lead to breakages. Either we get the split or the broken kernels, which will drastically bring down the price. So we need to do this under a controlled condition. And conventionally it is done in a dryer called Borma dryer, which takes nearly 24 hours, wherein the firewood is used as the firewood and the crushed shells are used as the fuel. But our dryer, this near infrared dryer, can do the same job in 1 hour. So drastic reduction in processing time from 24 hours to 1 hour. Apart from that, apart from reduction in drying time, the other advantages are we get higher yield of whole kernels, which fetch premium price in the market, and there are no scorched kernels, and it eliminates the high cooling step. Normally in the conventional Borma dried kernels are to be cooled before packing, so that takes almost 16 hours to 24 hours. So that cooling step can be completely eliminated if we dry only with the near infrared dryers. So this we have tested in the industry, and this process is easy to scale up. Only thing is, so far it is not commercialized. The reason could be this is based on the electricity. So most of the cashew processing industries are using firewood or the crushed shell as the fuel. So their fuel cost is less compared to the electricity based system.
How much the machine cost?
Machine cost depends on the capacity of the dryer. So we can have a conveyorized system, and we made some cost comparison with the conventional Borma dryer and the newly designed infrared dryer. So the processing cost can be brought down to 20%, by 20%, if we go for the near infrared dryer.
How much does it cost?
Pardon?
Domestic. If you want to use the appliance
Yeah.
in my own house,
Hmm.
how much it costs?
No, it is not for the industry specific. Industry specific. No, most of the cashew processing industries are facing labor problem. So they are also into automation, and nowadays they are also going for the captive power generation system. So gradually this may also get into the cashew processing industry. Another unit that we have developed is the combination of hot air and infrared dryer. See, the present day trend is to go for a hybrid dryer, wherein we use two different modes of heating to have a synergistic effect. So we have developed a dryer wherein we are using infrared radiation and the hot air. It is a 3-chamber dryer wherein different temperatures can be controlled, can be had to have a better product quality. So this is how it looks like and works. Right hand side we have a blower and we have a heater. The hot air is generated using the heater, and it goes through the material bed, and the infrared sources are provided on either side of the conveyor for combination mode or the hybrid mode heating. So because of the synergistic effect, we can drastically bring down the drying time. So these are the advantages. Almost drying time is reduced by 43%, and we have a better product quality. We normally in the case of dehydrated material, we say, or the index is the rehydration moisture, how much the material can gain after once it is rehydrated. So that property is also better. It can retain better nutrient. The nutrient retention, in case of carrot, it is a carotene retention is much higher compared to hot air heating, and we have a better cell structure. So this also, it can be, if we already have conveyorized hot air dryer, the IR modules can be fit into this. So IR modules are not very expensive. Nowadays we have many suppliers in India. They can manufacture the modules which suits our requirement, and we can fit into the existing system and get the synergistic effect.
I think the question raised what could be the range of cost of these utilities?
Yeah.
You can indicate.
Yeah. No, actually, why I did not specify the cost of the equipment is, if you say only the cost of the equipment, it is much higher than the conventional Borma dryer. It is definitely higher than the conventional Borma dryer. But if you see the processing cost in terms of production, labor, and amount of the productivity, so one dryer is dedicated and it is used for 24 hours for one batch. Whereas we can produce this in 1 hour, we get the one batch. We can be run on continuous mostly. So that's how we did the process economics calculation. In that aspect, it is almost like 20%. The processing cost could be reduced. So the latest technology is use of radio frequency waves for drying. So this is similar to the waves which we use for our mobile communication or even for radio audio system. But only the difference is we are using a different frequency wavelength or different frequency radio waves or different wavelength for this purpose. Here the idea is to pass the radio frequency waves through the material bed, and because of the passage of radio frequency waves, it generates heat instantaneously. It generates heat similar to the microwave. It instantaneously generates the heat in the material and removes the water from the material. It specifically targets water molecules. It doesn't heat the other part. Only we have tried. I will come to in the next slide. So and because of that, the efficiency is much higher in case of radio frequency waves. So energy efficient, it is an energy efficient dryer, and higher. Another advantage is the product thickness is not a constraint. Normally that is a factor in most of the dryers, and it is a self-regulating system. So I will finish this. Okay. Self-regulating system in the sense the radio frequency waves are generated only when moisture is there. So if moisture is not there, radio frequency waves are not generated. Thereby, the energy requirement is automatically controlled during drying. So that's how the overall efficiency of the dryer is very high compared to other dryers. And it is ideal for finish drying. Already the baking industry has started using this dryer because in the baking industry, reducing the moisture content from 5% to 2% is very difficult. It is time consuming. And at the same time, the problems of cracking are also faced. If you go for finish drying, within few minutes, the finish drying can be done. If you go for the RF dryer, you can go within few minutes. The finish drying can be done without affecting the quality of the biscuit. So already the baking industry has introduced this. Now it is coming into the vegetable drying industry also. These are the things which we tried at CFTRI, and it has given excellent results. But the one thing, the advantage here is, apart from the reduction in drying time, the quality of the material is excellent. The dry dehydrated material will almost retain the original color, and the nutrient retention is also very high. Similarly, the application of microwave in combination with hot air. Application of microwave is well known. Almost every household uses microwave ovens. But combination of microwave along with hot air gives an excellent result and it is ideally suited for industrial scale applications. Even though it was known earlier, it was not much used in the industry because of the the initial investment cost, particularly for the microwave dryer. But now we have many manufacturers in India who are manufacturing conveyorized system for large scale production of dehydrated material. The principle is same as that of the radio frequency wave. Microwave passes through the material and rapidly generates the heat, which we call it as dielectric dipolar rotation or ionic polarization, because of which the moisture can be removed very fast. Maybe I can stop here. Yeah. Pardon? In the minimally processed thing. It is negligible. Pre-treatment is only to reduce the microbial load in the beginning. Before cleaning, no, negligible. There will be one or two, but because when you dip a vegetable or a fruit in water, some of the water-soluble nutrients go into that. The leaching will take place. But yeah, it all depends on how long you will dip it. So this is only a minimum treatment to reduce the microbial load that is there on the surface before packing.
In the beginning of this scheme, you have mentioned that you are in the process of turnkey project.
Yeah.
That means if one government asks the CHRI just to make a project and end-to-end solution for, suppose a modernized high school.
Yeah.
Is it possible for the CHRI?
Yeah, it is possible. So the project what I mentioned is Mata, there's a Manipur, that is on juice preparation, right from DPR stage to setting up of the plant and then training the people there and then handing over the factory to them.
Is there any office of CHRI office in Kolkata?
We don't have an office in Kolkata, but we have one resource center in Lucknow.
It is headquartered in Mysore.
It is in Mysore.
We have branches at
We have branches in Hyderabad, Mumbai and Kolkata. Lucknow.
Is there any planning to open any in India?
Right now, I don't think.
I don't think you need a branch. You see, today it's a question of distance learning. You can certainly today, in a
Just at
way.
the end of a phone call.
Yeah, you can. Number one. Number two, the entire IIT syllabus is available online today. Anybody can take that examination and get a certificate from the IITs today. So we can link up those kinds of institutional arrangements.
That is a new thing. We just heard it.
No, it's available. All the IITs, there are medical courses which are being offered online. In fact, a number of medical schools in England have an option of doing what they feel like and then get the. That's where the MCI has to open up its mind. MCI will make them open their mind. That's what I'm telling you. So, what I'm trying to submit to you is, how do we scale it up, this kind of a knowledge? I think that is your concern. We can do so by linking up with your existing institutions. If you have an agricultural university, if you have an agricultural college or an agricultural polytechnic, if you have a horticultural university as we have in Andhra, or a horticultural college or a horticultural polytechnic, we can establish the linkages and then scale it up in terms of farmers' programs. So my request to you would be, see how you can spread this among the farming community, ultimately, and the enterprising among the farming communities. So that's what I was trying to request to them in the morning also. How do we establish these emerging technologies through an institutional linkage, through the distance mode or online, etc., with the existing institutions? It's very easy these days. And if you have the net connectivity, which I think you have, very strong net connectivity all over West Bengal, you may kindly see how you can link up with your engineering colleges, agricultural colleges. You have an agricultural university.
Yes.
You have an agricultural university. So link it up and then. You can, we need to establish those linkages and take them. Any other question? But I would request them to put some of these things online, what you have mentioned. You see, everybody would be interested in how this can be taken up.
Yeah.
1 or 2 page notes, simple summaries, so that whoever is interested can take it forward. I'm sure some of
make it available in your site also.
Yeah.
Just on purely on following
Yeah.
easy processes.
Yeah.
Of trying.
No, normally what we do is when somebody visits CFTRI and asks for that, we give that. So same thing can be put online.
that is fine, but open access to learning. when open access to learning, today the concept is there are worldwide institutions, movements which say that no knowledge should be within the controlled domain. It should be online, it should be available. In fact, in US itself, lot of efforts are being made that the best of teaching efforts in Princeton, Yale, Harvard, they should be available for people, and they are available. IITs are doing it. So we can as well do that.
Yeah, actually, one thing I would like to mention here, CFTRI has now identified many technologies, mainly the rural technologies, and it is giving free of cost to the entrepreneurs. Now we are not charging anything. So we have identified the technologies which can go into the rural area.
I just want to say the same thing. We are in the process of doing these things. Like now we are having many technologies which are going to be given to people free of cost, as Dr. Umesh said. All you have to do is to go click on that button. Now, one of them is a technology which I'll be sharing with you in the afternoon. It's a simple pop-up press. So how to make pop-up press? So I'll tell you the history and how it works. And that is going to be available to people free of cost. That what I mean by pop-up press, it's the design drawings of this machine which is available free of cost. So you take those drawings, you fabricate that machine and you sell it and you make your profit. We don't want anything. So those things are coming in now. So I think you should just wait for a few more days and that will be there online for you. So you can share these things.
My request to all of you would be, kindly set up a small cell in your offices, particularly heads of the department. I know that we are all very busy, we are all dragged by the minute, but identify a youngster or somebody with an inclination to constantly look at these practices and churn out series of papers for you as a decision maker. Tremendous information flow is taking place. There is enormous information flow. All that you have to do is put them together, sift the chaff from the grain, and then do it. In every office, if you identify one enthusiastic chap, I'm sure he could be of great help to you. It may be relevant, it may be redundant, but that's the way knowledge can be spread. That's the way knowledge can be disseminated. Most of them may be relevant, but you will be able to take a call out of the material which is turned out by them. Let them be charged, throw them up, have a monthly meeting in your own office, discuss them so that you can take ideas for it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll meet. For force convection, we require a blower or to blow the air through the material bed. So for which we require again energy, power. So nowadays we are getting a solar dryer wherein the energy required is also generated through solar energy to run the blower. So such systems could be used for dehydrating the vegetables. At least to bring it to a level of say 40% or 30% moisture content, where it is relatively the stability is much higher compared to the moisture content of 80 to 90%. Then it can be moved from the field to the processing area and it can be further processed. So many designs are available and many suppliers are also there in India. One organization, that is SEED in Hyderabad, is extensively working on development of dryers for various agricultural producers. This is another unit, vibrofluidized bed dryer. This is again one more type of dryer wherein instead of using a stagnant bed, the material is made to fluidize because of the flow of air. The velocity of the air is maintained in such a way that the material starts moving up and down. Thereby we are increasing the mass transfer or the heat transfer area, because of which the drying will be much faster. In this design, we are using LPG as the heating medium. LPG is burnt and the hot air is generated, and the air is directly, the flue gas is directly used for drying or roasting. So because we are directly using the hot air that is generated by burning, the efficiency of the dryer is much higher. And another key feature of this dryer is we have heating and cooling system inside the dryer. So the material can be dried or roasted, and then it undergoes the cooling step also inside the dryer. It is a conveyorized system. By the time it comes out, it is in a cool condition wherein we can directly take it for packing. So these technologies are transferred to industry, and a couple of industries are using these vibrofluid dryers for various applications. This is a comparison of energy requirement for the conventional diesel based system and the LPG based system. Almost like 20% of the cost, the processing cost could be reduced when we go for this type of vibrofluid dryer. Conventionally, roasting is done in a drum system, which is again a batch system, and a lot of problems with the quality of the roasted material. So the infrared system, which I mentioned earlier, which we use for the drying of groundnut, drying of cashew nut, can also be used for roasting of groundnuts. Just put the results of our study. It shows that the roasting time is drastically reduced. Besides improvement in quality in terms of free fatty acid production or the peroxide value. So this system can also be used for the continuous processing of nuts. This is another model which is spouted bed roaster, which is slightly different from the fluidized bed system. In case of fluidized bed, we are making the particles to move up or fluidize in an environment. In case of spouted bed, the airflow is made in such a way that there will be a mixing inside the chamber where the material gets roasted. So because of this agitation or mixing, the rate of heat and mass transfer will be much higher, and the material can be quickly roasted, and the quality of the roasted beans will be better. The next operation is membrane processing. So membrane processing is also known. In the last couple of decades, we have seen many applications of membrane processing. Again, the bottleneck or the hindrance was the cost. The membranes were very expensive, and only few suppliers were there in India. That's why it has not gone into the food processing industry. But now we have realized the importance or the potentials of membrane processing in food processing industry. It can be used for various applications, for filtration. It can be used for concentration using RO. So main application of this membrane processing, the advantages of membrane processing are, it is a low temperature operation. So whenever we are handling the materials, food materials which are heat sensitive, for example, the fruit juice has got a lot of nutrients which are sensitive to temperature, and also we don't want the color to be changed. Conventionally, the concentration of these juices is done in an evaporator, wherein invariably the product turns brown at the end of concentration. So, and the energy requirement for concentration is also high in the conventional process, where we are using evaporators for that purpose. If we go for membrane processing, the energy requirement also comes down, and also the product quality can be retained to the maximum possible level. Some of the disadvantages are, it is a maximum achievable concentration. There is a limitation up to which we can go, and other problems like membrane fouling and polarization makes it some sort of a semi-auto system. Because in between we have to stop and clean the membrane and go for further processing. So in the beginning I mentioned about one turnkey project that we took up in Manipur. It's mainly for orange juice and pineapple juice processing. In this plant, we have introduced, this is a project supported by CSIR, DSIR and the Ministry of Food Processing Industry. Here we have used a combination of microfiltration and reverse osmosis to produce membrane filtered and concentrated orange juice and pineapple juice. So this is a view of some of the views of the processing plant. The first one is the membrane system, which consists of microfiltration and RO system for concentrating the juice to a certain level, wherein we are afterwards we are going for the conventional concentration using vacuum evaporator. So thereby we can improve the quality of the juice. So this has got, this membrane filtered juice has got a lot of export potential. So these are the products. You can see the membrane clarified juice, the center one. The membrane clarified juice is much more clear, and the retention of nutrients will be much more compared to conventionally concentrated juice. Similarly, these membranes can also be used for clarification of tea, wherein we can get two products. One is rich in protein, pectins and other minerals and other nutrients. The other fraction which is clear and doesn't contain any solids. So these are both these are having a lot of potential in the market, global market, and membrane technology can be used for this purpose. Similarly, membrane can be used for processing of honey to get a fraction which is rich in enzymes and one which is clear, which can be used as an adjunct to the beverages. As I mentioned earlier, the major problem with the membrane processing is the concentration up to which we can go. Normally we can go up to 25 Brix. So starting from 12 Brix or 8 Brix, we can go up to 25 Brix. Further concentration is not possible because the juice becomes very viscous. So osmotic membrane distillation technique is one which has got a lot of potential in the area of membrane processing, wherein using this technique we can even go up to 60 to 65%. So CFTRI is extensively working on this technique. So this is still at lab scale, yet to be commercialized. This packaging is another important aspect in food process, plays a major role in deciding the shelf life of the material. So you may process it in whatever way you want, but if it is not properly packed and kept, the product is going to be spoiled. So particularly when we are handling material with high moisture content, processed material with high moisture content, this is the storage and the selection of packaging material and storage condition becomes very important. Recently we have developed a technology for handling such products. It's the processed products. These are the South Indian, well-known South Indian snacks. These cannot be kept for more than say 8 hours in the normal condition. So CFTRI has developed a technology, it's called as Hurdle technology, wherein we are using few critical steps for processing, and also it is packed in a proper packaging material and stored under controlled condition to extend the shelf life up to 8 weeks. These products can be stored under controlled conditions.
Under controlled conditions?
It is around 3 to 4 degrees refrigeration temperature. It is processed, pasteurized and packed in a proper packaging material and stored under controlled condition. So,
Distribution of things under material scheme is a viable option.
pardon?
Material scheme. We are distributing some
Okay.
chawal, dal.
Yeah.
Then under this technology.
Yeah, but only thing is we require that controlled condition, refrigerated condition is required throughout the chain. Okay. Throughout the chain. Yeah. So this technology is also transferred to industry, and one industry has already come up in Mysore to produce such products. So going to the next topic, that is innovative products. So there are a number of products from ginger. I have taken the commodities which are grown in this area, northeast and the eastern part of the country. So ginger is one such product. I think it is particularly in the northeastern region we have plenty. Number of products can be made with ginger, starting from the simple bleached and unbleached ginger to the high value ginger oil or the ginger oleoresin. CFTRI has technology for all these products, and these products have got good market potentials on. This is how the oleoresin is produced. High value oleoresin is produced using ginger. I will not go into the steps involved in this. Mainly it is a solvent extraction, and here the investment will be slightly higher because you need to have a solvent extractor, desolventer, and then steam distillation unit. Another product is turmeric. So turmeric, the powder is always valid for its color. So the conventional process used for processing the turmeric pod or then converting that into a powder has got some disadvantages. Recently CFT has developed a technology wherein the turmeric is treated before drying and then subjected to drying, because of which the drying time is drastically reduced from 25 to 30 days to 24 hours. So this technology, and then the quality of the turmeric powder that is obtained from the turmeric is very good in terms of its color value. This technology we are transferring to one of the turmeric clusters in Karnataka, that's the Chamarajanagar cluster, wherein a lot of turmeric is grown. This technology has been transferred to them. Similarly, chili, using chili, many products can be made, again starting from the simple chili powder to high value capsaicin and chili oleoresin. Some of the technologies have been already transferred to industry. And there is the production and processing of oyster mushrooms also. Both the culture and spawn and the large scale production for both urban and rural models we have, and more than 20 entrepreneurs have taken this technology for the production of mushrooms as well as for making products, value-added products from this. Coconut is one of the important products in terms of the agricultural produce that is produced in southern India, the coastal region. Many products are developed from this. One of the VCO, that is virgin coconut oil, which has got both food application as well as pharmaceutical application because of its nutraceutical value, has become a great hit, with more than 30 entrepreneurs taking this technology for producing the virgin coconut oil. This technology was developed with the support from CDB, Coconut Development Board, Cochin. Sugarcane is another product which is, you can say, underutilized product. So far it was only going for the sugar production. So recently CFTR has developed a process for juice, making sugarcane juice, which is either bottled or it is aseptically filled. Like the juice what we get, like a 200 ml juice what we get in the market, similar to that. And in Maharashtra, one company has already taken this technology and they have started the commercial production, and it is 100% export unit. So the stability is almost like 150 days at room temperature, and whereas for the bottled one is 120 days. We can make many products out of this sugarcane juice spread, which has a stability of 120 days, almost like 4 months. And then sugarcane juice concentrate, sugarcane juice powder. So this powder can be reconstituted whenever we want. We can reconstitute it and have it like a juice, which has got almost like 6 months stability. The powder has got a stability of 6 months. And recently we released a technology for making chemical-free, hygienically processed jaggery. This technology is also transferred, and already the product is in the market. That is my jaggery, the photo what I have shown there. Now it is available only in Karnataka, and they are planning to expand also. And this natural colors are gaining popularity in the recent past because of the many disadvantages of synthetic colors. So this blue color can be obtained from spirulina, that is an algae. So CFTR has got a lot of food as well as pharmaceutical applications because of it's a very high value product. And we have a technology for producing spirulina and extracting these pigments, blue color pigments from spirulina. In this case, we have used a novel technique called aqueous two-phase extraction. Normally, the solvent extraction is used for this purpose. Here in this process, we have used aqueous two-phase extraction, because this process is very simple and the quality of the pigment that is obtained is also excellent in terms of its purity. And CFTRI is also working in the direction of value addition to food waste. So large quantity of food waste is generated by the industry, and some of these waste contain some valuable nutraceuticals. So we are working in that direction, how to extract these nutraceuticals so that value addition can be done to these food waste. One such application is using the apple pomace, which mainly contains phenolics, which are mainly antioxidants, and then incorporating them into some bakery products. Similarly, watermelon rind, which is a waste product, which is a waste material which is thrown out. So it also contains citrulline. So this it is a bioactive compound. It can be incorporated in some products, or it can be converted even in the form of a Fitbit kind of product. And similarly, different products from custard apple, beverages, powder, the flakes. This is one recently developed technique. This is juice from sweet orange. Actually, we have the juice from normal orange, but so far we don't have any bottled juice from sweet orange. The problem with the sweet orange is it contains a bitter compound, and if you keep the juice for a few hours, the bitterness increases. And if you go for thermal processing, which we normally do for in case of other juices, the bitterness further increases. So we have developed a technology wherein we are separating the bitter compound before thermal processing, and then we go for the conventional processing technique. So this technology is also transferred to industry, and one industry in Bangalore has already started a commercial production of this product. And we have many products, spray dried products or the dried products like honey powder, we have mango powder, bale powder, encapsulated various bioactive compounds, and some of them have been already transferred to industry. These are some of the products for children. So this energy food is one such product which is going as part of midday meal program in Karnataka. So energy food is a multi-grain product. It is rich in high calorie, and it is fortified with other nutrients. Basically, it's a dry mix of various grains and pulses, and this can be consumed as such, or it can be converted into a product by adding milk or water we can consume. So similarly, we have high energy biscuits which are high calorie, and various products, fortified products, fortified with minerals and vitamins. Coming to the last portion of my talk about the food processing machinery. Already we have discussed about a few dryers and roasters that we have developed. So in this section, I would like to focus on the equipment that we have developed for traditional foods. The problem with the traditional food is it varies from region to region, and then many of them are derived standard conditions of serving. So it is a bit complicated task. So we have started this work with designing a continuous dosa making machine for a large scale consumption. So this unit has got a heating system, LPG based heating system, and a rotating plate. It has got a batter dispenser to dispense the batter on the plate, and then the dosa gets heated or cooked. By the time it comes out from the other side, it is completely cooked. So one man can handle this machine. The capacity is around 400 dosas per hour, and more than 800 units are working across India. This is another unit, continuous chapati making machine with a capacity of almost 1000 chapatis per hour. First one, the bigger one is the first model. Now we have a smaller one also. So in conclusion, I can say the objective or the mandate of CFTRI is to empower farmers, encourage tiny cottage and small, medium scale industries, and with a main focus on food safety and health. Thank you.